I am.
Okay, at 7:30, I'd like to call this meeting of the Ocean Township Board of Adjustment, November 18th, 2021. Amy, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Fuller? Mr. DeLomo? Mr. Manel? Mr. Van Wagner?
Here.
Mr. Ashkenazi? Mrs. Beal?
Here.
Mrs. Tallarico?
Here.
Mr. DeGennaro?
Here.
Mr. Pugili?
Here.
Mr. Mamie?
Here.
Chairman Worrell?
Here. Can we please all have the salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the notice of the requirement of the open public meeting law for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the notice has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and to the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township of Ocean. Board policy is no new cases will start after 10 p.m. No new testimony taken after 10:30 p.m. In addition, the applicants will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. Notice that all these meetings will be videotaped and audio taped and shown on the Ocean Township Community Cable Channel 22 on Vios. All right, a few housekeeping items. I'd like to welcome some new board members tonight. And Mr. Kirk, could you introduce them?
How about we start with Grace Ann Tallarico? Could you please come onto the screen and say hello?
Hi, how is everyone? Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about being on this board. So I appreciate it and thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Anthony Pugielli, and I apologize. I will be hurting your name for at least the next half dozen meetings.
It's all good. It's all
I'm
good.
just letting you know.
You're pretty close.
What is the actual
hello, everybody.
What is the actual pronunciation?
Pugielli.
Pugielli. Okay, I didn't decimate it that badly.
Nope, you were very close.
Okay, I'm good. With a name like Kirk, it's kind of hard to go out there.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on board. I look forward to serving.
Awesome. And last, we have Anthony DeGennaro.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? Look forward to serving with all of you.
Welcome. So, Mr. Steinberg, do you need to swear in these applicants?
I do. Do they have their own oaths? Has anybody sent it to them?
I'm going to go with a no.
I did
I
not.
have not.
Amy, do you have one handy?
I do.
Could you read it and they will swear to it, okay? Gentlemen and Miss Tallarico, could you raise your right hand and repeat after Amy?
I state your name.
Hi, Anthony DeGennaro.
Anthony Pugielli.
I Grace Ann Tallarico.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey.
Do
solemnly swear
to support
the Constitution
of the United States and the Constitution of
New Jersey.
Okay.
That I will.
Amy, could you give it like 5 words at a time, please?
That would be appreciated.
Every day, I was trying to remember it all.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance
That I will bear true
faith and
allegiance
to the same and to the governments established
to the same and to the governments
established
in the United States and in this state,
in the United States
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the
authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly
I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear to
faithfully, solemnly, and
faithfully,
justly
solemnly, justly,
impartially
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 perform all of the duties of alternate, let's see.
Hold on, hold it, hold it.
Hold on, yeah, everyone's
Let's
gotta say this
let's
part
get let's
separate.
get those 5 words out first.
Perform all the
Perform
duties.
all the duties of alternate.
Oh,
Right,
Of
so,
the, why don't we say of the position to which you have been appointed on the zoning board of adjustment of the Township of
Way
Ocean?
too many words here, guys. You
Oh, my
can't-
gosh. To, and partially to the position
And
partially
certainly
to the position.
which I've been appointed, to
which I've been appointed
To which I've been appointed.
on the zoning board of adjustment of the Township of Ocean.
On the
To the
zoning board
zoning
of
board of
Board
adjustment
of
of
the
the
Township
Township
of Ocean.
okay, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the
According
best
to
of
the
my
To the best of my
ability. So help me
ability.
God.
So help me God.
Okay, that was the hardest part. Congratulations.
There we
Thank
go.
you. Thank you very much.
You're now members. Where do you have to take the one-time course? Is that still given at Brookdale, Amy?
It's online
It's
now.
online now,
Oh,
yeah.
that's even better. Okay.
Right.
But, and then we'll certainly try to walk you through some of the earlier applications as we proceed so that you can get the gist of what's going on. Any application that's new tonight for the first time, was never heard before, you will be eligible to vote on, whether it's tonight or the following meeting if it carries. But even the ones that we would have, and then again, I see Mr. Donner is here. Mr. Donner's going to present a lengthy application. And it started, but I think we had one meeting, right, Jeff?
Yes. Well,
So-
we had one meeting, which was sort of a discussion of the law and jurisdiction, and then we had a
Well-
meeting last month with Mr.
Right, so-
Vesh.
Amy will,
Testify.
we'll have that special meeting in January, and Amy will supply you with either the tape or whatever we have so that you can get up to speed on that application. And once you sign a certification that you have done that, you will be able to participate in that application also. And we would appreciate the numbers if you can do that. So Amy will get that over to you
Thank you.
after the
Yeah, of course.
holidays.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. Let's finish up some housekeeping items. We need to approve the minutes of the October 21st meeting. Amy sent that all to us in packets over the course of the last several days. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Beal. Second?
Can I second that? I'm not sure I can.
I think Mr. Mamie and Mr. Worrell are the only ones that can second.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, so
Roll
Ms.
call.
Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
and Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to have Co-Chair Beal read the resolutions and memorializations. Can we read them? We have to read them one at a time, or can we group them?
We can read them all at once. I believe, Amy, they were all voted the same way last month.
Yes.
Yes, so only those, I guess it's the same 3 people that would be eligible to vote on those. So if Ms. Beal, if you'll just give us the names and blocks and information that's on the agenda, and then we'll move them all for one vote.
Okay. So the first one, we have Jill Heckman, block 61.02, lot 10, 513 Blanchard Parkway, West Allenhurst, bulk variance approval. Jack Ashkenazi, block 11.01, lot 3, 1036 Norwood Avenue, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Eli Ben Zakin, I hope I pronounced that correctly, block 33.01, lot 5, 531 West Lincoln Avenue, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Sam Franco, block 17, lot 16, 323 Wells Avenue, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. And Ruggiero Burns, block 140.17, lot 7, 303 Belmont Avenue, Ocean, bulk variance approval.
Thank you.
Bill, did you want to offer those? Shawan,
Yeah.
you can offer those.
Yes, I offer yes.
I will
So we need
second.
a second. And Mr. Worrell second. And Amy the vote.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
and Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Ms. Beal, thank you. Can you take care of the cases carried to December 16th? We have a few listed here.
Yes, the following cases will be carried to December 16th on Zoom with the link listed and the meeting ID listed below on the agenda. Sean Realty LLC, Block 141, Lot 3, 2415 Asbury Avenue in Ocean. Going down, I guess, Rebecca Weiner, Block 131, Lot 9, 1309 Wickapeco Avenue in Ocean. Brielle Avenue LLC, Block 184, Lots 1 and 4, 1304-06, Brielle Avenue in Ocean. 3500 Sunset LLC, Block 43, Lots 1 and 2, 3500 Sunset Avenue in Ocean. Kenneth Greenstein, Block 22, Lot 90, 204 West Morgan Avenue in Ocean. 335 Roosevelt Avenue LLC, Block 19, Lot 3, 335 Roosevelt Avenue in Ocean. Sorora Land Development, Block 22, Lots 85 and 85.01, 280 Norwood Avenue in Ocean.
Those will all be carried to the meeting of the 16th of December without further public notice.
Thank you very much.
We need to mention the Juan Sardo one also.
On tonight's agenda?
Yes, the last one listed is also carried to December 16th.
And how about Cordoba?
In Cordoba, yeah.
Okay, so I'll be glad to announce that. So items 8 and 9 on tonight's agenda, first 8 being Juan Sardo, Block 2605, Lot 14, 469 West Lincoln Avenue, Oakhurst, and Cordoba Ocean LLC, Block 205, Lots 2 and 3, 1309 Herbert Avenue, and 1312 Allenhurst Avenue, Ocean, will also both be carried to the meeting of December 16th, 2021, without any further public notice. They will be on the Zoom link for that meeting, which is available on the Township's website.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. That brings us to our first case tonight of Seaview Corporate Park, Block 149.01, Lot 1.012603, Route 66 Ocean, as Zone 120. This is an applicant to construct and operate a facility providing an assisted living, long care facility, rehab, and memory care. The construction will be required several variances, including lot depth, building height, number of units, parking spaces, among other. Our attorney for tonight is Jeffrey A. Donner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening.
I believe that we have addressed this application in the preliminary portion of the meeting. I've been offered a special meeting in January for this application because it's actually a very large application, and to do it in 45-minute increments is something that's really not a favor for anybody. It's not a favor for my clients, where we have to do it piecemeal. It's not a favor for the board or the public. I should be able to hear it in a larger block. So we have agreed to waive our time tonight in return for a special meeting in January on a date to be announced. We will pay the additional fee that's necessary for the meeting. We've also agreed to renotice so the public is fully informed. And at that time, even though Mr. Besh has previously testified last month, we will have him testify again in a more summary manner to refresh the board so that they can ask questions as well as the public. And then we will present, I believe, the rest of our case, and should be able to present everything to the board in one evening. And I think that's the way to do it. So we've accepted that suggestion. And on that basis, I am formally waiving our time tonight, and we'll expect to hear from Mr. Kirk regarding the special meeting date in January. And I thank the board very much.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Mr. Steinberg, anything?
No, Ron, did you want to carry it to the December meeting? There's no necessity.
Well, if you'd like to, I mean, I think I would like to carry it to the December meeting only to keep the public informed of its status. How's it? No.
So
beyond that.
we'll carry it to the December 16th, 2021 meeting without further public notice. Hopefully by that time, we'll have a new date.
We will.
Which we can announce, and we will also have the notice for the new date by the applicant.
Hey, Mark
Right.
and Ron, it's Rich Van White. So, if this did start, I think I may have missed it.
Yeah,
And if that-
Amy,
I was
before you
gonna
got
say-
on, tonight, Richard, before you came on, I told the new proposed members, I believe, that Amy will supply everybody with some form of, I think it's, do we still use discs? I'm not sure how we do it anymore. Of the prior meetings. There, one was maybe 20 minutes when we had the jurisdictional question, and one was 45 minutes when they started the case. So everybody who was not eligible, who was not present at either or both of those hearings will be supplied with the ability to listen to a tape or whatever we, as I said, or the video, whatever we do now, and sign the eligibility form so that they will be eligible to participate in the hearing in January when it is scheduled.
Thank you.
We're not letting you out that easy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We're all set. So, best of luck, Mr. Donner, and get together with the professionals and work out your details.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will.
Okay, next
I'm
case.
going to leave the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Mr. Worrell,
Yes, sir.
Chairman. I don't know if the applicant, instead of waiting, because you got two in front of it, case number 4, is Mr. Farber around yet?
Mr. Farber's here, Mark. And
Okay.
it looks like my experts and client are too. Can you hear
Pardon
me?
Well,
you
yeah, there's a problem with this case. It turns out that I represented Mr. Soror, and I would have a conflict then in proceeding on this matter. I didn't realize that until I reviewed the agenda, and then I checked my file, and I said, well, same people. So that I do have a conflict. I had spoke to Mr. Kirk, and we tried to get a conflict attorney, but it's a little late. Plus, there's some issues which you need to review. As to the prior variance grant, that hasn't been fulfilled. So I don't know if you're asking for relief from that original approval, which would require noticing for that. I don't know if you noticed. For instance, the driveway is still 12 feet, and the original approval was granted based upon 20 feet in width. Are you asking it to remain at 12?
Yes, we.
Well, then I think your notice is deficient because you got a notice for all that.
Actually, Mr. Steinberg, I believe I have.
Okay,
And-
I haven't reviewed the notice because again, I have a conflict. So we're gonna have to, what we've arranged, and I assume Ron will arrange, the conflict attorney is probably Mark Lechstein, who is the planning board attorney for the town. The matter will be put on first for the meeting of December 16th, so that Mr. Lechstein can come and go. It'll be carried without any further public notice to that meeting.
Mr. Steinberg, while I have you on the phone, just because you'll be handing the file off, what happened was this matter, and in fact, the next matter on the agenda, DDIP Automotive, when I initially had noticed them months ago, I had put go to meeting instead of Zoom. So Amy was smart enough to catch that and bring it to my attention. I actually renoticed both the DDIP application, which is up next, there's no conflict, as well as the Soror application. When I redid Soror, Mr. Steinberg, I did add the driveway, the dry well is signed, so the notices should be fine.
Okay,
So,
Jim, you know what, and then, Jim, you can check those notices over tomorrow, next day, to make sure that whatever relief they wanted is properly noticed. I do apologize for not picking this up earlier. But and there is an objector involved. There's a concerned neighbor, so I certainly don't want to look as if any appearance of favoritism. So I have to recuse myself. So, Mr. Chairman, the matter will be carried to the meeting of the 16th of December without further public notice. It will be, right, Ron, the first one on the agenda?
It will be.
So Mark can come and go.
So that Mr. Farber is taken care of, as is Mr. Lechstein.
Okay.
Thank you. And by the way, just because I have an audience, Walter Hopkins, David Feldman, and Mr. Saror, and Mr. Saruya, if you're on there, please note we cannot be heard tonight because Mr. Steinberg is in conflict. We will be carried to the December meeting. I have 2 other applications. I'll talk to you later. And gentlemen, good night. And I apologize for that. Beyond
So
my.
I want to get that done early, so in case anybody's sitting here on that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, so according to my agenda, we have D-Dip Auto next.
That
That's
would
Mr.
be
Ford.
me. Yes.
Okay. So next case up is D-Dip Auto Group, Block 43, lots 1, 2, and 3, 807 Highway 35 Ocean in an R2 zone. This is an application to expand the existing building by constructing a 1,486 square feet addition to the 11,987 square foot structure. Variance for the expansion and existing use for the building will cover it, as well as the many previous existing variances are being sought. Several waivers are being sought as well. Our attorney for this applicant is Robert D. Faber.
It's Farber. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Farber, you're up.
Okay, just as a aside, I was under the impression that it's a C3 general commercial zone, but whatever it is, it's irrelevant for purposes of what we're about to do tonight. So good evening. I represent D-Dip Automotive Group, trading as Maserati Alfa Romeo of Monmouth. Property located 807 Highway 35, Block 137, lots 1, 2, and 3. Tonight, I will have for witnesses 3 Ds. I will start with David Bosch of Nelson Engineering, Don Passman of Passman Arcolino Architects, and Mr. Darian Dip, who is the principal of D-Dip Automotive. By way of background, some engineering reports have been submitted as of plans. Mr. Higgins, the planner, has issued 2 reports, and Mr. Bennett Matlock, the new engineer, has reviewed and issued 2 reports as well. In terms of variances, there are a lot of pre-existing ones that we're generally not expanding on. The building itself is having an addition placed on it, which is demanded by the franchise of Maserati and Alfa Romeo of its franchisees. The building itself will not have any bulk issues. Mr. Passman, when he testifies, will discuss that the height of the building is not being revised. In terms of the existing nonconformities, curb cuts, utilization, and the like, they will hopefully not be expanded, as we'll explain. Most importantly, Mr. Dip will be here to testify at the end that he wants to be a good neighbor and to cooperate fully and abide by some of the concerns, which apparently have been long lasting before he owned the property with the prior owner. I might add, and this is a curiosity, but will come out in the testimony, when the microchip issue is resolved, hopefully soon, Mr. Dip has gone out of the way on the behalf of his corporation to lease additional property, so there will not be a problem with too many cars on the lot. There will be more space for employees to park there, so they're not on Logan. Without further ado,
Mr. Farber, just to ask the question, where is the property located that Mr. Dip is going to be taking the cars to?
Mr. Dip will testify to that. I don't have it written down.
I'm just asking, is it within the Township of Ocean?
Yes, it's in Doris Ave. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's on Doris Avenue, Mr. Kirk.
Just to add in, if it's the property, I think it is. I think it already has approval for storing vehicles from a dealership.
Yeah, I just don't want to clear one thing up and make a mess of another.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Thank
This is
you.
the location that Land Rover used to use to park their previous, when they used to be in that location. They used to use it to park cars.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make a mess out of one and clean up another. So, thank
Now,
you.
we wanted to clean, and that was Mr. Darren Dip, and he'll be sworn in a little bit. But I think the most logical way to proceed is with David Bosch testifying. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call Mr. Bosch as our first witness.
Okay, I just want to make sure, Amy, did we mark the packet B1 into evidence?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that was taken care of. Did we hear from our professionals on this first? Do we want to do that before we bring up your witness?
That's
Jim?
fine. I'll abide.
Okay. I'd like to hear from our planner, Mr. Higgins.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea since we do have 3 new board members.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is I will alternately read my report in and then explain some of the issues so that they can better understand it. So, because this is a whole new ballgame for the 3 of them, I'm sure. The applicant's proposing to expand an existing automotive dealership by constructing a 1,558 square foot addition that will include 3 service offices and a service drive-through. In addition, a formerly constructed terrain trail, which was a trail that Land Rover had on the site that would let people demonstrate how they could drive the Land Rover over some very steep terrain and not tip over, hopefully. That was removed and an expanded gravel area was installed, and that was done without approvals because there was a prior approval showing that, and there were no approvals to remove that. The proposed application will eliminate that stone gravel area and will replace it with a smaller brick paver display area to match the existing brick paver display area that's in the front of the site, and also some landscaping. The site's a little over 2.4 acres. It's developed for the auto dealership with 132 parking and display spaces, and some parts of the site are encumbered with stream and associated floodplain. And none of that, I don't believe, and I'll defer to the board engineer, but I don't think any of that is directly affected by this application. The variances that are necessary with this application, that's what I wanted to explain a little bit to the new board members, is that there are 2 types of variances generally that are required. One are called C variances or bulk variances, which relate to a permitted use, and they deal with lot coverage, the size of the building, setbacks, height of the building, that type of thing. Those are C variances or bulk variances. And then there are a group of what are called, and at this point inappropriately called, use variances. And they are in section 70D of the municipal land use law. And they are also better referred to as D variances. And there are 6 different categories of D variances. I won't go through every one, but I will go through. First of all, D1 is a straight use variance. Say you have a residential zone, you want to put an office in that on a site in that zone, then you have a straight D1 use variance. The second D2 is if you want to expand an existing use that's not permitted in a zone, but is legally permitted on the site. For example, if you have an existing office that is legal and you want to expand it, then you go for a D2 variance for expansion of a non-conforming use. And the standards that are required for the different types of variances are very different. What this applicant is proposing here is what's called a D3 variance. There's uses that are permitted in the zone. You have principal permitted uses, which are uses that are permitted by right. You then have accessory uses, which are accessory to a principal use. And then you have what are called conditional uses. And conditional uses are uses that are permitted as long as the application, that the site meets certain specific conditions that are intended to try and mitigate any possible adverse impacts or unique aspects of that type of use. And an automotive dealership is a conditionally permitted use in the C3 zone. The standard that you want to look at for granting a D3 variance is whether or not the site can accommodate the use despite the need for the variance. The use itself is not an issue. The use is permitted. But if you deviate from one or more of those standards, then a D3 variance for deviation from a conditional use is required. In this instance, there are 2 conditions for an automotive dealership that are not met. One of those is the minimum lot depth. 200 feet is required. 171 feet exists, and that was a previously approved variance, but it is still something, since they're expanding the building, it's something you could look at again if you wanted to. The second is minimum front yard setback, and this gets a little bit more complicated because the existing setback of the building and what was approved for the principal part of the building was 75.4 feet and 100 feet is required. Again, but 75.4 is approved. Now they're expanding the building, and the expansion of the building, it's a very small expansion, but that has a setback of 82 feet, where currently there is no building there. So a variance would be necessary for allowing that expansion to be setback 82 feet. I don't have a problem because it's set back beyond the main part of the building, and the site seems to work very well, but the applicant should provide testimony to that effect. Other requirements that might possibly be violated and they have to testify to are that no used or rental cars shall be displayed in the required front yard. And it's not clear if they're proposing to display used or rental cars in the required front yard. They have to address that. And the second is that no signs, numbers, or letters or similar displays, whether painted or otherwise, shall be permitted within the windows of any vehicles on display. And there's no information in that regard. In the past, dealerships have sought relief from that requirement because there are certain requirements that information be displayed on the side windows regarding the specifics of the vehicle, not necessarily a great big sign that says, you know, used car or a 1985 or 2015 car, those things, but things that are required by law. So the applicant needs to discuss that. And those are basically the conditions that I think of the conditional use that you would be looking at as far as granting the D3 variance. There are also, in this instance, a C variance that's necessary, a new bulk variance that deals with the signage on the building. The ordinance permits one facade sign per business, and there are, I think, a total of 7 facade signs. Let me look at my report just to make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, there's 7. Well, there's 2 facade signs are permitted and 7 are proposed. The 2 are permitted because you're permitted 1 facade sign for each street frontage, and there are 2 street frontages. There are 5 signs on the main building. One is the Maserati logo, which is 6 square feet. The other is a 23.4 square foot Maserati sign. There's a 31 square foot Alfa Romeo sign, and then a 5.5 square foot Alfa Romeo logo. Those are all separate signs according to the ordinance. And then there's a 28 square foot sign that says Monmouth, which I guess is the name of the dealership itself. And then the new addition includes an 8.7 square foot sign that just says service to direct people where to go. And then a little, what's called a blade sign on the side that has the Maserati and Alfa Romeo logos and the word service. The total square footage of all those signs is less than 150 square feet. And the ordinance does limit the amount of signage to 150 square feet on a facade. So, and these variances are typical of auto dealerships. I don't think we've had an automotive dealership that hasn't had this number of signs, these types of signs on it. The parking space size, 10 foot in width is required. 9 feet exists. These are all existing, and I'll just go over these very quickly. These are existing, previously approved and not impacted by the application. The number and location of curb cuts. Lighting does not comply with the current lighting ordinance, and I'll defer to the board engineer with regard to lighting issues, not on just on this application, but on all applications. And then the landscaped area along the front property line, 25 foot wide is required. And there are a couple of small existing areas where the landscaping area is less than 25 feet wide. The only other comment I have is that there's, I think the landscaping, when we normally have an application like this that's come before the board that has been previously approved and that there are changes, we require them to submit a new landscape plan showing what was previously approved and installed, and also what may be required to be changed. And this does require some changes to the landscaping. So I think if the board approves this application, that should be a condition of approval. And as Mr. Farber alluded to, there's been historical problems with employee parking on Logan and across Logan Road, and that issue needs to be discussed.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins, for that report. I'd like our engineer, Mr. Matlock, next, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Higgins, for that very well described overview. So in general, there's not a whole lot of engineering in this application. The majority of the site is already impervious, and the new addition is really not generating any new impervious area. It's, if anything, it might even be a little bit less. There's no grading information on the plan, so I'd like the applicant's professional engineer to talk about stormwater impacts, drainage, how the site drains, and how the new paver area, vehicle display area will drain and be collected by the stormwater system. With regard to lighting, there really wasn't much information provided, but it doesn't appear that there are any changes to the lighting of the site, but we can get some testimony from the applicant on that. I believe Mr. Farber already touched on it. His architect is going to confirm the height of the building, whether that is going to change at all. And Mr. Higgins already spoke about the signage, and those are the main points from my report. So I think we can turn it over to the applicant now and hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Matlock. Very good. Counselor, you can call your first
Mr.
witness.
Chairman, thank you. I would like to call Mr. David Bosch, who's a licensed landscape architect. He has appeared before this board as a professional on countless occasions. And before you swear him in, I just want to place on the record that he is being called as an expert for the engineering and design and architectural plans of, the engineering plans for the site. Mr. Bosch, could you please put yourself on so you can be sworn in?
Yes, we recognize his credentials. He's testified for us many times. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
David, good afternoon, good evening. You have screen sharing available, and before you get to that screen sharing, there are two issues that I want to address from the get-go because Mr. Matlock brought them up. The first pertains to lighting. The second pertains to water flow. And we talked this afternoon. I know that the addition is approximately 5,000 square foot, which means that a soil sediment control plan will be required. Could you please elaborate?
Okay, it might be helpful to do the screen share so I can reference to the filed exhibits so the board clearly understands the area of the proposed improvements relative to the scope and scale of the overall property.
Excellent. Please do as you see appropriate.
Amy, am I able to share?
I made you a co-host. Did you get anything?
Okay, I think. Okay, can we see?
You're there.
Yeah.
Okay, what I have before you right now is a copy of the survey of the property. I'll expand out so you can see the property is located at the intersection of Logan Road, which is on the left side of the page, and Route 35 northbound travel lanes, which is on the top of the page. The site is what you may recall being the Land Rover dealership before the current applicant took over the property. Before that, this was even the Cypress Inn restaurant site, which I was part of the approval team that got the approval for the Land Rover dealership at that time. The area of concern for this application is at the south end of the property. So what's depicted here is the existing building with the current drop-off overhang on the south facade of the building, the associated parking just to the south of that. Now, the area that is hatched, one area that's more of a gravel look is the area of stone that was replaced the old terrain trail that was demolished. And as Mr. Higgins had represented, the terrain trail was a unique feature of the Land Rover organization to show the flexibility of the vehicles that they were offering to their patrons. The other area was a brick paver vehicle display area located at the extreme south end, basically in the niche of the triangle, southernmost triangle of the property.
Okay, or go into your cage.
Okay, so the applicant is proposing to modify this area, the southern area of the site only, between the south facade of the building. I'm sorry, there are some improvements being proposed to the facade of the building, which Mr. Passman will attest to, but the site improvements are south of the southern facade of the building. Now going to the site plan, a little bit more detail, we show the dark shaded area is the proposed building addition, which will contain an out of the weather service area drop off for the patrons, rather than dropping off their vehicles in inclement weather out in the weather. They will now have a drive-in, drive-through vehicle drop-off building. What that entails is the removal of approximately 8 or 9 parking spaces that are currently in that area, but we already exceed the required number of parking spaces, and the creation of a landscape island immediately adjacent to control the access into the service area and separation to the normal traffic route around the building. Now we get into the shaded areas again. There are a couple of lines that I wanted to bring to your attention. There's a heavier dashed line that represents where the previously approved terrain trail was located. Then there is the gravelly hatch, which shows the area when the terrain trail was removed, that was restored as stone and gravel. Then there is the brick paver hatch, which is the applicant's proposal to restore the area of gravel to a finished surface for providing access of vehicles to the brick display area, and showing that pathway, the brick paver surface, is located further into the property than the previous terrain trail was for the Land Rover application. The size of that brick paver area was determined so that the new impervious surface area of the brick pavers would not exceed the impervious area that was the terrain trail from the Land Rover dealership. So with this in mind, the net change in impervious surface coverage would essentially be zero. There would be no change in the impervious surface coverage, and therefore no need to expand the stormwater management system. I believe the application also includes the resurfacing or reconstruction of the identification sign located just to the north of the entrance driveway. But the location of the sign is not changing from the previously approved sign for the Land Rover dealership. So from a site perspective, a site design perspective, the changes are fairly minimal and intended to bring the proposed product back into compliance or even in better condition than the previous condition of the site under the Land Rover dealership. That's the quick and dirty of the site improvements. I don't know if there are any specific topics that you wish me to expand upon.
Yeah, Mr. Bosch, there was a question by Mr. Higgins about the lighting. Is there any change to the lighting that is already on site, or is it essentially the same?
It is essentially the same. The symbols for the existing light fixtures are a circle with a few lines emanating from them. Those are the existing light poles. They are not proposed to be changed, modified, or removed.
Okay. And is there anything about the property that would be difficult not to accommodate a different landscaping plan? So if one is submitted, should this application be approved, you don't see any problem with that, correct?
Yeah, we would be more than happy to provide the inventory of the previous approval that Mr. Higgins had mentioned, as well as supplement that existing design in and around the area that's being modified with this application.
Okay, so in terms of quote unquote bulk issues, there's really no change in terms of impervious, in terms of setbacks, except for that 82 from 75 feet. Could you elaborate a bit about that, please, and just point it out to the people what we're talking about there?
Sure. As Mr. Higgins mentioned, this operation being a permitted conditional use, but unfortunately, the prior application nor this application satisfy all the conditions that are required for conditional use approval. And one of those was the requirement for a 100-foot front yard setback separation from the rights of way of the road to the building proper. Now, on the site plan drawing, we noted that the existing building as it faces Route 35 is 75.4 feet from the northwest building corner to the right of way of the road. That was a previously granted variance. That is not changing. The area that we are changing is again on the south side with the new addition for the service area, where the southeasternmost corner of that addition will be 77 feet off the right of way of Logan Road. And you can see by the alignment of the right of way of Logan Road, this property also has a very unique jog, shall we say, in the right of way. So while it is technically 77 feet from the right of way, when you examine the building from the travel way, it would actually even appear to be further than you would anticipate. So that being said, the 77 feet that is proposed is still greater than the 75 feet that was previously approved.
Now, Mr. Bosch, that is really not of any safety or aesthetic concern, is it?
I'll leave the question of aesthetics to the architects, us site engineers. They say all our sense of taste is in our mouth, so we'll leave the aesthetic question to Mr. Passman.
I think you're a very tasteful guy, but I will add, and Mr. Higgins, please jump in if you think I'm wrong. In page 3 of Mr. Higgins' report, he did not have any significant concerns regarding this aspect of the application. All right, Mr. Bosch, I don't believe I have any further questions. Mr. Chairman, I would present Mr. Bosch for questioning by the board or the audience at your discretion, sir.
Thank you. Does any of the board members have questions for this testify? Mr. Bosch, Mr. Bosch's testimony. Any board members? No? We're going to get into the architecturals, correct? I like to see
Yes.
a side view of that drive-through. With that being said, let's open up the public. Any questions from the public for this expert witness only? Once, twice, new times? Okay, no. I need someone to make a motion to close the public session.
We don't do that at this point.
Not yet?
We just move. No, we keep going to the next.
All right,
witness.
no questions. You're up, Counselor. Next.
Why, thank you, Mr. Worrell. I would like to next call the capable and handsome Don Passman, who can talk about aesthetics as well as the architectural design. Mr. Passman is a licensed architect of the state of New Jersey. He too has appeared before this board innumerable times. Mr. Chairman, I will ask that his testimony be permitted as an expert in architectural design.
Yes, Mr. Passman's been before us many times, so welcome. Thank
Don,
you.
if you could get on so you can be sworn in and hopefully not sworn at.
Would you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Talk about a nice aesthetic. Look at that basement. Anyway, Mr. Passman, you did the design for the revisions to the Maserati Alfa Romeo dealership, correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to ask you to screen share in a moment, but before we do, the one substantive bold concern raised was the height of the building. And I just want to, for you to affirm under oath, nothing in this design, nothing in the plan is going to increase the height of this building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Without further ado, ask Amy to help you screen share, and I would like you to please walk through your beautiful design.
Okay. Let's see. I hope I'm screen sharing right now. Does anybody see this?
No.
This plan A1?
Not yet.
Not yet. She must not have accepted me to do that.
You're a co-host, so you should be able to
Yes, she did.
share screen.
You get that or not?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, there we go. Okay, you got that?
Not yet.
Okay.
And we got it.
You
Thank
have
you.
this? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We're good.
Okay, so this is my drawing A1, which really depicts the existing conditions that we met when we were first out there. If you note, I mean, the only thing of real note, a couple things have happened with the showroom. All this got changed a little bit, but as far as the board's concerned, what really happened is the front canopy was removed and we put on the addition, and the alignment of some of the doors and windows on the west side got changed as well. So that's the basic of what the existing was and what the extent of some of the changes were. All right, can you see page A2?
Yes.
Okay. On A2, the dark lines, the dark shaded areas are the new information. Now there's some stuff inside which, you know, they just realigned some of the showroom and some interior offices. On the west side, like I said, there's a realignment of doors and windows and also cladding, this aluminum cladding, which I'll show you on the next page. And that's part of the Maserati Alfa Romeo signature franchise development of what they want. But we had to, you know, we worked this out so that it worked within this building. And then the service entrance and sort of service offices were added also. Now, the difference between that service entrance and the canopy is that this thing is a little deeper and it's set closer to the road by 2 feet. So the canopy was 10 feet off the corner. This is 8 feet off the corner. This is 32 feet out, thereabouts. The canopy was about 12 feet out. So yes, this is an expansion. But, you know, very much, you know, through the Maserati people that they want this kind of a service approach. And so this is also clad in this aluminum cladding, which is their signature. So I'll go to the next page, which is the elevations, which someone wanted to see. At the top of the page, the west elevation, you'll see the aluminum cladding and the new doors. This building was green and like a pale yellow, and that's not what Maserati wants. And so the siding is now white. There's like a gray metal that was green. And then this aluminum cladding is this grayish, design is going to be in keeping with that. It's very muted tones. Same with the canopy or the service piece here facing Route 35 has a garage door, a window, and a man door. But it's also clad in this, grid of, 4 feet by 2 feet sort of panels. Now, the height of that is only 20 feet.
Don, can I ask a quick question? Well, the garage doors, are they going to be the same type of aluminum cladding in appearance?
It's aluminum and glass.
Aluminum and glass. Okay, so
So
it's going to blend with the rest of the building.
Yes.
It's not going to look
All
like
the new, it's
total
all
work.
new aluminum and glass.
Yeah. Okay, so it won't look
Everything.
like the typical garage doors.
No, it's modern. It's modern. It fits the rest of the modern design of the building.
Okay.
Don, while you're there, can you just point out the signage that is?
Oh,
on
yeah.
the-
Let me expand this a little bit.
Thank you.
So in the addition, there's Maserati of Monmouth. So there's the Monmouth. There's the Maserati with its logo. There's Alfa Romeo with its logo. And so this it's sort of like a chimney effect that was there before is sort of the separator between the Maserati and Alfa Romeo, which are both models that are sold here. And then there's 3 there plus the logos. You can consider that 5. There's a service sign over this nice modern garage door. And then there's the blade sign, which just says service or something on it. So very, very small signage, in my opinion. And the totals, which are written here, show you that they're less than what's allowable. They could do more.
Okay.
Now, if I scroll down and someone wanted to see the Roselle side, there's some glass that, match the panels. They kind of fit in. And that's so you get some light into the service area besides the glass garage doors on both sides. And although it's 20 feet tall, the ceiling inside is 15. That allows for some structure, and then small mechanical unit, which is servicing this area for heating and cooling, probably mostly heating, but that would be set within this parapet. And so the 2 little rectangles here are scuppers that allow the water to drain off that parapet, off that roof. As far as the east elevation, the opposite side of the addition mimics the other side with the glass, the door, and the garage door. And I think, overall, you talk about aesthetics. I mean, the building was green and pale yellow. Okay, it may have worked back in the 80s or something. So I think that this design is going to bring this into a nice modern aesthetic, that it's going to be well appreciated and an improvement to the property.
That's pretty much it, correct, sir?
Yes.
Now, again, to reiterate, there's no increase of height anywhere in the project. And in terms of bulk concerns, nothing significant. Obviously, you're adding the service area, but beyond that, in terms of variance relief, we're within our confines except for the 82 to 75, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Passman, I don't believe I have anything further. Mr. Chairman, I present Mr. Passman to the board for questioning and then to the public at your discretion.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Higgins, did you have concern regarding the amount of signage in your report?
No, I don't.
So you're okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's this typical of an auto dealership. And
Gotcha.
probably the ordinance should be amended to take that into account.
Thank you.
It's not an overbearing amount of signage.
Does any board members have questions for Mr. Passman?
I had a question concerning the overflow scuppers coming off the side of the building. Where are they dumping those overflow scuppers?
Well, they're overflow. There is internal drains within the building. I mean, the roof drains will drain inside and out. The overflow scuppers are just in case those get clogged, that the water can come out. It's an emergency thing. It's not a regular methodology of draining the roof. So if it happens once, I'd be surprised.
Any other board members with questions for Mr. Passman? Anyone from the public have a question for this witness? Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would now like Mr. Darian Dipp to be my next witness. Mr. Dipp is the chairman of D-Dip Automotive, trading as Maserati Alpha of Monmouth. Mr. Dipp, if you could make your picture known and appear, please.
For some reason, the camera is not working over here.
Welcome, Mr. Dipp. Can you raise your right hand and repeat after me?
Yes,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes, I swear.
Okay. All right, you're up.
Mr. Dipp, good evening. We're here today and I have some questions for you. From the get-go, many of the design features, the drive-through, the cladding, the signage, as well as parked cars, which we'll get to in a little bit, are governed by your franchise agreement with Maserati Alfa Romeo. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And in fact, these designs have been mandated by them as part of running a Maserati or Maserati Alfa dealership. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. From the get-go, this is a conversation we've had several times and a cause for concern, not just for you, but over the years. You are renting another site for cars to park inventory and other things when you have a bigger inventory when the microchip crisis is over. Is that correct?
That's correct. Not only for that, but also so we can have more freedom for our employees parking, customer parking. And that way we don't have to park on Logan Street anymore, which we stopped doing, I would say about a month and a half when you came in to the office and expressed to us the complaints the neighbors were having.
Okay. And you understand, and as a good citizen and as the CEO of this organization, you will police and make sure that employees do not park there. If they do, it's a de minimis minimal thing, correct?
We'll do, but they will not park no more. I mean, not even at a minimum.
Okay. And also, in terms of the way you operate your business, cars will be delivered on trailers. That will be done off of Logan Avenue, correct?
Correct.
It'll be done on 35 in a very prompt, professional way. It'll be done, if possible, in the dealership if it's a smaller trailer in the lot itself. It will not be done on Logan, correct?
That's correct. We actually hire somebody just so they are in charge of when cars get delivered, they do it as fast as possible and as safe as possible as well.
Okay. Now, one of the conditions, should the board grant the application, is that a landscaping plan cataloging and demonstrating the prior landscaping and showing proposed new landscaping be presented and approved. And you understand that condition, and should the application be granted, you agree to comply. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to talk to you about a couple of issues that have arisen, and they're sort of pertaining to how you do business. So that's significant. First of all, when you display cars, new cars or whatever cars, by law, you have to have, I'm going to use the term Mulroney stickers on the window. You're required to, is that correct?
Correct.
Give me the name of the stickers. Are you talking about the MF, whatever it is?
MSRP.
You need the manufacturer MSRP sticker.
Correct.
That's required by law to stay on the vehicle.
Correct, but the state of New Jersey demands that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. And if it's a certified pre-owned,
that's the next question. We don't permit used or rental cars displayed in front yards.
So my next question to you, let me back up. Would you like to ask the board to allow you to occasionally or at times display a certified pre-owned or a used car in the front of the yard?
If they allow it, I would love to, yes. I mean, most of our cars are only a year old or max 2 years old. They're fairly new, low mileage, and in good conditions. We don't plan on, or we haven't displayed anything like sales or any stickers from the cars or anything in that matter.
You know, you have an image of a used car dealership in LA or something where sale is plastered on a front window, hoods are left open, cars are elevated. First of all, under no circumstances are you going to elevate a car. Is that correct?
No, for us, it's not allowed. The franchise do not allow that.
Okay, and you're not allowed to display sale signs or open a hood or anything like that in the front yard. Is that correct?
No, I can't put no sale signs, no blowout sales or anything like that. Franchise does not allow us to do that.
Okay, none of those ridiculous blow up things or anything like that either, correct?
No, correct.
Now, if you were to ask the board to display a car that is not new, would it be something that is within a year or two of age, that looks new, that would not be in any shape or form what we might call a clunker?
That's correct.
Currently right now, and I joked with you when we met, you have a lot of white cars and you line them up. And they all look fairly new to me, but again, I don't want to appear gratuitous. Describe what you had done previously and would like the board to consider allowing you to do.
I mean, pretty much what we have put in the front is all white cars, and it's been fairly new, 1 or 2 years old, mixed in with the new cars.
Okay.
So you really can't tell which one is new, which one is old, and it's been working for us pretty good to now.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, one of the things, we will abide by what the board rules, but we would ask that the board allow a waiver with the understanding that the car, any used cars displayed in the front yard will be 1 to 2, let's say with, what is the average age? You said 1 to 2 years?
Correct.
Larry?
2019 year cars.
Okay.
That's the oldest, or newer.
So they will be 2 year or newer.
I can't do 219 because 219, 10 years from now will still be 219. So you're trying to
Will
2 years old.
will they be certified? Will they be certified?
Yes, they are certified. Yes, certified pre-owned.
Certified pre-owned. I think maybe that, can you work with that, Mark?
Yeah, certified pre-owned. No older than 2 model years back or something like that. Okay.
Correct.
That would
Okay.
be
Yeah, Jim, you have any problem with that? I think that the ordinance did contemplate not the type of used cars that are done today through a dealership.
Yeah. The ordinance really contemplated older used cars that really looked like used cars. And the board, I think in the past, has granted this variance for certified used cars.
Okay, so I got that. Now, aren't there other signage on those cars in addition to the MSRP?
No. It'll be the buyer's guide.
Doesn't it say certified pre-owned at least?
Yes, on the buyer's guide, it will state the type of warranty that it has, which is certified pre-owned. Yes.
Okay. We have permitted on other sites in town, and I have the wording in other resolutions, some minimal signage. Jim, you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I know we did. I just don't remember the specifics.
I don't have it in front of me, but it was basically MSRP and then anything and certified pre-owned and nothing larger than 9 inches or something to that effect, or 8 inches, because some of these vehicles do carry a number. I don't know if you do, but other dealerships put a number on the car for their own internal location purposes.
No.
Did you do that, Mr. Ditt?
Yes, we don't do that.
Okay.
Mr. Steinberg, I just want to clarify something. If the sticker is 9 inches by 9 inches or 12 inches or something, it'll say certified, it'll say the mileage, maybe the options, but it shouldn't be just content limited, it should be size limited. And
we have wording, which I'll find from other resolutions, which permits both the information for certified used cars and for manufacturers' MSRPs, and actually a little more if you wanted to put a number on the car or some sort of identification for you as a dealer.
On the used cars, we only put the buyer's guide, which is what's required by the state of New Jersey. We don't put no other signage.
Buyer's guide. Okay. And I think there was, they only can be displayed on the side of the car, or they're all on the side.
On the side of the car,
windows?
correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
yes.
they're not on the front windows. Yeah. All right, I'll find out.
Question, because I car shopped recently. If a car is in a convertible, I think they put the sticker on the front window, not on the side. Is that correct, Darian, or am I wrong?
It should be displayed on the side window. Because
Okay.
even if it's convertible, you can leave the glass up, and you're supposed to close it at nighttime.
Okay, so that's
We
a
can-
move. Okay,
If the board approves it, I can work with the language.
okay.
That would be satisfactory to Mr. Dip because we've permitted it on other sites. I have it in other resolutions.
Okay. As a general rule, Mr. Dip, your goal is to be a good neighbor, to comply and to abide by any concerns the town has, correct?
That's correct.
Jim Higgins, and I guess I'll address this to you too, Mr. Matlock. Is there any major point that I missed? I think I hit everything. Did I miss
I
anything?
think so, yeah. Yeah, the major concern I have is that there be a landscape plan submitted for the entire site so it can be enforced in the future. We don't want to have 3 or 4 different plans piecemeal for somebody that they're looking to enforce it in the future. We want everything on one plan.
Okay, I believe I asked Mr. Dip that, and he will abide by whatever conditions such as landscaping that are placed on the application to satisfy the professionals. Thank you, sir.
And Jim, we're reapproving the size of the parking spaces and the number of curb cuts.
Yeah,
Is there any way to change any of those things, Mr. Dip?
No, I mean, we looked at it. We need those parking spaces for customers to make it a little bit easier for them and employees.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have 25 feet of landscaping any place along the front?
yeah, we do. Most of the front has 25 feet. There's a couple
Except for
of
the-
small areas around that display area,
Okay.
the brick display area. So, but the rest, and nothing new that's being proposed is going to violate that.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's all
And just to be clear about something, that brick display area where the trail was, Mr. Maserati and Alfa Romeo of Monmouth can display cars there. It's just that, abiding by the type of vehicles is outlined, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I do not believe I have any further questions for Mr. Dip. If the board does, or perhaps the audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hand it over.
Does any board member have a question for this witness? Ms. Talarico?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how many cars will be across the front at any given time? Is there a maximum, or is that
We really
any
don't.
amount allowed?
We really don't have a number, to be honest.
Okay, and is
Whatever
there
you
a
like is-
maximum amount of new and used cars to be allowed in the lot?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do we have don't we have designated spaces for all this?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
designated
we do.
spaces for them. And the display area out front, they can only put the cars on the brick display area. So that'll limit the number
Okay.
of cars. They can't put any cars on lawn area or anything like that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other board members have a question?
Yeah,
If not, does anyone from the public have a question?
Well, there are certain two other conditions that the the fire marshal wants the lanes designated, the fire lanes. We're going to do that,
Yes.
Mr. Farber and everybody else.
That's fine. My client will abide.
Let me just pull up my packet here. Okay. So we have install fire lines for township ordinance, and our police department indicates adequate parking lot lights for the overnight hours. I assume that you have some security set up? for the overnight hours?
We currently
lighting?
don't, but we can't do that if that's something that you guys are looking for.
Well, say that again.
We currently don't have it now.
Okay, you do not have any overnight lights.
Right now, no.
Okay, it says view the
It's a very
plans.
minimum. It's at a very minimum right now.
Yeah, well, maybe, I don't know, the police department is looking for adequate parking lot lighting for the overnight hours. I don't know if there's a possibility of putting any of those lights on a motion sensor or something like that in the event of an emergency, or Jim, do you think this is too close to residential to disturb it?
I don't think it's too close. And I know that is a concern that the police have had with dealerships over the years. They want to be able to see what's there to make sure that people aren't in there trying to dismantle the vehicles.
Mr. Dick, can you keep the lighting on at night in the
Well, I
back?
don't know if they want the lighting on. I think that if the lighting were put on some sort of motion detector.
Maybe a condition would be that they work with the police department to come up with something that's satisfactory to them for security purposes.
Right. And they'll tell you which lights they want to keep on, or which lights can be put on. The bulbs can be motion sensor. Okay, that's that one. They're looking for a security system with warning signs indicating the building's under surveillance. So I assume you do have an alarm system of some sort.
Yes, that we do have. We do have that, and we have cameras, surveillance systems.
Right, and they want the the Sloman sign that just shows everybody that that it is serviced. So you can do that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're not going to need a sign variance for that, are we, Mark?
No. Good point. No, you don't need that. I did have one other thing that the board may want to see, and I don't know if you have it. Do you have a color rendering from another Alfa Romeo or Maserati dealership with this metal silver thing's going to look like finished? Does anybody have one?
I don't have one.
Mr. Passman?
I don't know if I have one from them. What I was going to say is that aluminum cladding is exactly what we did on the Seaview Jeep building.
Okay.
It's a very common cladding. I think the Ford dealership has it as well. Everybody's doing it, because it's very clean and it's a smooth surface that doesn't get dirty and so forth.
What color is this one going to be?
Well, it's like a gray, so it's like an aluminum color, like a silvery color.
The other dealerships have that color?
Yeah, almost all of them do nowadays, at least as an accent piece.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
it's like a
vote.
fine
So
photo.
if the board members feel that they understand what's going up there, that's their prerogative. Just sometimes a color rendering, we've had sometimes things that are described to us, the ultimate construction is not the same as we thought it would be. That's the only thing. But if the board members are familiar with the other.
May I ask a question about that? If we, what would be the turnaround time to see a rendering or a live color or something picture? Is that something that takes a great amount of time?
It takes some time to achieve. I'm looking at a photo from Seaview Jeep where we had some of the front and the side service area was the same kind of aluminum cladding. And that is very similar to what somebody's going to do on this property.
You're on their site now. If I go to it, I can see what you're.
Mr. Passman.
Wait, Don, just share what you have.
I'm going to try to do that.
And we'll label it as what it is, just so the board gets an understanding, because what their mind picture may be from the description may be different.
Mark, is it appropriate to make a comment right now as a board member? I like sort of as per the discussion, only because I took a look, just Googled it on my phone as were, and a few pictures, and it does look pretty standard to what I see now out of BMW, because I know what you're talking about. I was surprised a few times in the past, a little bit with the Range Rover in terms of the proximity of that hill in the front, but also I think we had one was the Hummer way back when they had the question with the roof, when we were going to have the sign on the roof, all that stuff. So I know what you mean. They can be a whole different,
but maybe
we think, but this I think is pretty bland now. But go ahead.
Yeah, Maybe Don, you can share that with us?
I'm gonna try to get that for you.
You know, I'm looking on my phone at Alfa Romeo dealers, and none of them show pictures of what the dealerships look like. Let's see.
Is that bad or good?
Well, I mean, what I looked up is sort of very typical to what I just happened to be at a few recently getting a vehicle, and they all have sort of this, sort of a standard, yeah, it's almost like a muted gray. Yeah, and so rather than having their own colors and everything, you know.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Well, anyway. So was that the last condition, Mark, by the way? Because I had three.
The last condition was it's going to work with the police as to security signage and security lighting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, that would be sufficient. I just, if we can get a picture of something similar, so just so the board members could understand approximately what the exterior is going to look like.
Try. I mean, I could almost. Oh, I'm just looking at it here, but it's not going to help everybody.
All right, let me try this. Hang on one second. I have to do a little magic here.
Yeah, then you need to send a copy of that to Amy because we're going to enter it into evidence.
Or not.
It's coming.
Amy,
Yes.
let's label the Mr. Nelson Engineering plans as Exhibit A1, and we'll label the architectural plans as A2, and we'll label whatever Mr. Passman is going to give us as A3, and he'll just describe it.
All right.
So the site layout and the survey for Nelson Engineering's A1?
Yeah, isn't that all together in the packet? All their plans?
Yeah, they are in the packet.
Yeah, so that would be A1, and A2 would be the architectural plans. And if Mr. Passman gives us anything, we'll call it similar facade, A3.
Hold on a minute. Okay.
Okay.
I am going to hold this up. I don't know how this is not going to work.
Yeah, I don't think that's not good.
It's not going to work.
That's not good.
Actually, let's try this. Can everybody see this?
Like, I really, Rob, I really need us to bring kind of like your architect into the conversation.
I understand, but while he's waiting, this is the facade of Seaview.
Okay, now you got to take a picture of that, and we got to label it.
Yeah, no. Let's
Okay.
Let's see what Don can come up with.
Okay, here we go. This is not exactly, this is what we based the Jeep dealership on.
It's the what?
This is a photo.
Okay.
When I get there. Hold on a minute. I think I should be able to share. Can I share? Let me know when I can.
Yes. Yeah, you can.
Okay. Let's hope this is it. Let's see. Yes. Can you see that?
No.
Yeah.
Did it come up?
No.
Not yet. But...
Okay, I'm going to do something. I just took a picture of this, and I will email it to you guys later. This is from Darien Dip. This is the Acme version of the Maserati facade. Don, can you see the picture I'm holding up?
Oh, yes.
Can everybody see that? Oh, my stupid fingers on it. Never mind. But can everybody see the, what the hell did I do? Okay, here. And I think it even depicts the garage area. Can that be seen?
Okay, I got the screen share. I think that can still screen share. Hang on. There we go. I don't know. I think I lost everybody.
No, we're here.
We're there. I don't know what happened to that screen share.
One of the problems, Rob, is it's hard to see colors. It's coming out as
Okay.
black and white.
It looks like gray and silver to me, but hold on.
I've got a little
Hey,
concern. I've got a little concern here, ladies and gentlemen, of having the attorney giving photographs on a cell phone as testimony and evidence. That's a little off
Yeah,
the beaten
let's
path.
see what Don can just come up with, because then he can.
Okay.
And if he can't,
I can't seem to get my Zoom back for now.
Can I screen share it?
who said that?
Hey, can I ask something, Mark, of Don? Might
Go
help a
ahead.
bit. So Don, are you familiar with the dealership, the Cadillac, is it Cadillac dealership, but the dealership on northbound 35 and Ocean? Is that still it used to be a Cadillac, work back. Is it Audi now?
Yes, that's a stone finish. That's not,
Okay.
it's the Seaview Jeep is exactly what we're talking
That's
about.
what I was gonna say. So I was gonna say, I know we have one here in town. So would that be the facade that you are, that substantially the look, meaning the?
That is the look, yes.
I mean, so
Here we go. Let me try the screen share again.
that's 35 south. And I'm
See if you
sorry.
can see this. I'm surprised if you can't.
We'll be surprised either way, Don.
I don't know.
While we're waiting, Amy Stewart, I just emailed you my screenshot from my phone.
Oh,
If
Lord.
there's any way you can download that and put this up.
Here we go.
Getting some. We're getting
There we
there.
go.
Okay. So let's label this as A3, which is Seaview dealership, similar facade.
It's
you'll
the
send that,
color,
Don, to-
we're talking about the color, and if you look at where Seaview is in that rectangle in the middle, that's the same aluminum cladding,
Okay.
very similar, I mean, within reason of what we're doing. It's a grayish, silvery kind of color. It's got seams that are create a pattern, rectangular pattern, and that's what we depict on the drawing, and that's the color.
And just one other comment to make for the board, if you look at this exhibit, you can see the signage, which again is typical of automotive dealerships, and it's actually much greater than what this applicant is proposing.
Yeah, but they are in violation of the signs on each car.
Yes, they are.
So we'll have to tell the zoning officer.
Don't tell Henry.
All right.
Henry hated signs. Yeah, so I'm satisfied, Mark. That's what I was trying to elicit from Don earlier. Sorry.
Jawanda, does that give you a better picture of what we're doing?
It does.
Because the way he was describing it, I was thinking, Richard, of the Quonset hut, was going to be all silver that they're going to supply us with for the Hummer, which was pretty intense. So we have a sort of a concept that you can understand that. Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanted to present that to the board.
All right, council, do you have any more testimony tonight? Any more experts?
No more testimony. I believe at this point we would close. If you want me to, in 30 seconds, I can make a quick closing and the board can deliberate when they're ready to.
Sure, I just want to
Unless
ask
there's
you
any public comment.
one more time, anybody from the public have questions for this witness? If not, then you're ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Mr. Steinberg, everybody, good evening. This is a continuation of a conditional use because it's continuing to be a car dealership. My client has testified before you that he will abide by the 3 conditions that you folks require should the application be granted. More importantly, he understands the concept of being a good neighbor. The bulk issues really are not affected in any significant way. This will be a good source of business, of taxation jobs for the community. And in terms of the plans, it's a continuation of what's there, modified to work in accordance with Mr. Dipp's corporation's franchise obligations. which are not uncommon for other dealerships. And we would ask respectfully the board to look upon this application favorably for a businessman who wants to be a good part of the community. And I thank you, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Okay, so Mr. Steinberg, what are we looking
Okay.
for? Go ahead.
Okay, the first thing you're looking for, this is a D3. Did I get the right number here?
Mhm.
Pardon
I
me?
think it's a
Jim?
C3. It's a
C3.
No. It's expansion of a,
It's a
D3.
deviation from a conditional use variance.
which is D6?
D3.
What numbers? D3, like I said. D3. So that's the first thing that the board would vote on. The deviation from the permitted is that they're going to continue the setback at less than 100 feet, the depth as it exists. They are going to have used cars with the condition that they'd be no more than 2 years old, etc., in the front yard, and that they will have some signage on the cars. All those are not permitted. If they came in with an application without those, they would be at the planning board.
That's right.
Yeah. So that would be the first thing, if all that is acceptable to the board. Somebody can move that.
Okay, so I need a member of the board to please offer. Well, Mr.
I will
Stein.
offer for the D3.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Amy, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. De Gennaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli.
Yes.
Is that right?
Puglielli.
Okay. Mr. Mamie
Yes.
and Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Now, for the new board members, the reason we're separating the votes a little bit, that type of vote is a higher standard for a D3 grant. It requires 5 affirmative votes. So if you were to vote that 4-3 and only 7 people can vote at any one time, it would fail. It needs 5 affirmative votes. It got all the votes, so that's not a problem. So that's the reason. The next group of variances are what we call C variances, which only require a standard of majority. And they would be the number of facade signs for the reasons that were explained, the parking space sizes to remain at 9 feet, the curb cuts to remain as existing now, contrary to ordinance, the lighting to remain as it is, even if it's slightly different than the current ordinance, I gather. And that the landscaping in the front yard does not meet the full requirement of the ordinance today. There will be conditions in the site plan approval to take care of all that stuff. So those are the ones we're voting on: the sign, the size of the parking spaces, the curb cuts, the lighting, and the landscaping.
Thank you, Mr. Steinberg. So I need a board member to offer.
I'll
Anyone?
offer for the C variance for the sign, parking, curb, and landscaping.
Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wagner. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. De Gennaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
This thing is, we're approving the site plan, and there will be conditions. The conditions will be that the applicant is going to work with the police department as to security lighting and signage for security. The landscaping, they will supply a new landscaping plan to incorporate the previous landscaping and any new landscaping as one item, subject to the approval of our board engineer. Strike that, our township planner. The next condition would be that there be no parking on Logan Road by any employees or any cars for sale on Logan Road. and that the displays, which we will have that language in this as well as that resolution concerning the what signs would be permitted on the windows of the side of the car of the MSRP and the certified used cars, etc., on those cars, and that the pre-existing certified pre-owned cars that would be displayed in the front yard would be no more than 2 model years old.
Okay, I will offer what Mr. Steinberg just said. I need a second.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenero,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
and Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay.
Mark, did we vote on the general conditional use? That was in the D3, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, thank you very, very much on behalf of my client.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I might have an older agenda, but the next case is David Catton. Is that correct?
Yes, David Catton.
Catton, okay, sorry. Block 22, lot 26, 284 Roosevelt Avenue, Oakhurst, and Zone R4. This is an application to gain certification of legal pre-existing non-conforming use of an existing apartment/pool house accessory building which does not meet the required 10-foot side yard setback. The addition of this covered patio with storage area and outdoor shower would further extend the violation. Attorney for this is our counselor, David Esses. Is your counselor here tonight?
Yes, speaking.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. For the record, David Esses on behalf of the applicant, David Catton. First, I wanted to, tonight I'll be presenting an application for further development of a non-conforming use. We will bring back Mr. Passman to testify. Mr. Catton, who's the homeowner, will also testify as to any questions that the board may have. First, I'd like to start by describing the site for you.
Why don't we throw it over to our professionals first?
Right. I need to mark the evidence tonight into packet B1, please. And I'm going to ask our counselors, I'm going to ask our experts to testify first, and then you can proceed. So Mr. Higgins, can you please start with your report?
And then again, since we have new board members, I'll try to explain the nuances of this application. The first thing the applicant is doing is he has a use that's not permitted in the zone. It pre-existed the zoning. And when a use pre-exists the zoning and it legally exists, it's called a pre-existing non-conforming use. Unfortunately, the way the law reads is you have a property owner has, I think it's up to a year, to apply to the zoning officer to get a certificate that his use is pre-existing non-conforming. And if that hasn't been done after a year, he then has to apply to the zoning board to get that certificate. So the first thing he's doing is he's applying for a certificate to demonstrate that the use, which he has a basement office in his residence and a garage apartment, neither of which are permitted, and that those uses are pre-existing non-conforming uses. Generally, it's fairly difficult to prove, but in this case, he has a certification of use from a zoning officer in January 1985 that clearly indicates that the basement office and the garage apartment were pre-existing non-conforming uses and were entitled to remain as long as they were not expanded. So the first thing
Let me
that has
just-
to be done
Let me
is,
just interrupt you for a second because so now the board members are saying, well, if he's got that certificate,
Yeah,
why does he have to come here?
yeah, because,
Because they had to do that within 1 year of the change of the ordinance, which would have probably been in the 60s. Correct?
yeah, that's right. And,
Okay.
but I mean, the
It's
zoning
just-
officer said that it was pre-existing non-conforming in 1985. But in addition, he asked that they have to testify that nothing has changed since 1985. They haven't expanded either the
Or
garage
abandoned.
apartment
Right.
or the basement. So we need some testimony to that effect. And then the second part, and if the board members remember, I talked about the different types of D variances. This would be a D2 variance for technically expanding a pre-existing non-conforming use. And really, they're changing the use by taking the bottom part of the garage and making that, which was once a garage, now a cabana. So technically, it's an expansion of the pre-existing non-conforming apartment use, although physically, they really aren't expanding the apartment, but they are expanding the building. So they would require that. And the test for that is whether or not what is being done is either an improvement to the site, brings the site more into conformity, or helps the site function or appear better. And if there's some sort of a benefit in terms of the improvements to the site, then that variance can be granted if the board so chooses. There's also a bulk or a C variance with regard to the size of the apartment. I'll read this. With regard to request for a bulk variance for expansion of the garage apartment pool house, I have no significant problem with the request. The plans show an approximate 22 by 29 foot covered patio with an 8 foot by 10 foot storage shed. A technical variance is necessary since section 21-53.3 states, non-conforming structures shall not be enlarged, altered, rebuilt, except to become more in conformity. I have no concern with regard to the granting of this variance from a planning point of view. Basically, they're expanding a structure that doesn't conform physically to what the ordinance requires, but they're really not increasing the extent of the nonconformity. They're just not making it better.
Thank you,
The
Mr.
other
Higgins.
comment I have, and I think maybe that's been resolved with an amendment that I haven't seen yet because I was away when that came in, that there is a discrepancy between the setback of the garage on the survey and what is on the plans. The survey says 4.1 feet and the plan says 3.5. That just has to be resolved. It's a very minor issue.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Our engineer, Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I agree with what Mr. Higgins said. The only thing that I would say that's engineering related is we just want a little bit of testimony regarding the proposed covered patio. Will that negatively impact any neighbors regarding drainage? I really don't see why it would, but just a little bit of testimony on that, and that should satisfy that. I'll also note that for the board's benefit, there are wetlands and a flood hazard area located on this property in the back of the property. It does not affect the pool or the house or the apartment or garage. Any permits that would be required from the state would be the responsibility of the applicant, but it doesn't appear that any would be needed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matlock. All right, Counselor.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a site that's located in the middle of Roosevelt Avenue, between Monmouth Road and the tracks. It's a fairly large piece of property. It's 163 by 434 feet deep. It's a large property. The properties around it are also quite large. Facing the house to the right side, there's another very large property, and facing the property to the left, there are two empty lots. So you have things pretty much very well spread out in that area. It's an old 2-story Victorian style home. with an existing garage with an apartment on top as separate from the property as, you know, an accessory structure. That structure, which we'll hear some testimony and as it's been mentioned, has been there for apparently a very long time, sits quite close to the property line. Again, we'll hear some testimony about the exact number of feet, but it's close to the property line facing the house on the right side. There is already a pool that's there, and the garage / apartment sits approximately 22 feet from the between the pool from the pool. So you have the pool, you'll have an empty area, and then this apartment / garage, which sits along the property line. So we're here tonight to seek a variance to, again, build a patio, a covered patio, essentially connecting the pool area to the existing structure. We'd like to change the downstairs, which is currently a garage and storage area, and fix up the upstairs apartment to make it more comfortable and more usable for the family. First, I'd like to call Mr. Passman, who has been on earlier, who you're all familiar with, and he's also, I'll state, he's been here on numerous occasions. Do we need to swear him in again, or is he sworn in?
Yeah, I'll swear you in again. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, Mr. Passman. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just address generally. I've surveyed most of the house first. I did that a while ago when we put some small addition on there. There was something about an office that someone mentioned in the report. I never saw any evidence of an office in this house, but that's an aside, just a little bit. But in dealing with this, what we're calling really a pool house, the existing structure is sort of masonry on the first floor and a gabled roof second floor. The second floor currently has like 2 bedrooms, and you can see my existing plan that there's 2 bedrooms up there, a small living area and a small kitchen and a bathroom. And it's entered from the north side of the property. And the desire was to have that kind of fixed up. So it was a nicer apartment. So it went from 2 bedrooms to 1 bedroom, which is what we're proposing. At the same time, the lower level, which way back was a garage, and I think the driveway used to go through that way back on old surveys that I saw. And hence there's been a swimming pool added and paving. So it's not even, there's no garage. That just doesn't, but it looks like a garage, and I have photos if you want to see that. So in the proposed plan, we're going to clean that up, make it more like a pool house, have some storage for the kids' toys and the grandkids' toys and things like that, and put a bathroom in there so that when you're, using the facility, you don't have to go all the way back to the house, which is at least 80 feet away. So it's a hike. So this is going to satisfy that in terms of conveniences adjacent to the pool and its use. And given the property size, I mean, there aren't too many neighbors who can even see what's going on this property. So the plans, I think, that you have in the packet show how we've changed the second floor and how we changed the first floor to make it more comfortable for both the public use sort of downstairs and for the family member on the second floor. The roof over this piece is sort of necessary because the sun is beating down and it's 90 degrees. And so my client wants shade, and we put shade in front of this pool house for lounging, etc. And a little appendage for some more storage. You have a lot of kids' toys and whatnot. So this is just a gable end roof, perpendicular to the other one, that allows to have shade. I tried to keep it sort of low, but away from the windows on the second floor. As far as draining that roof, I mean, I figured that there's a gutter and downspout on the north side, which can run underground and come out in daylight further about 100 feet away, or 80 something feet away, you can get the daylight by the grading of the property. It drops off to the south. So there shouldn't be any issue with that at all. I mean, it's not that much roof compared to the rest of the property and paving.
Thank you, Mr. Passman.
Yeah. I can share the screen, hopefully,
Okay,
and show you photos if I would be so.
yes, we would like to see some photos if possible.
Tell me when I can share.
You still can from before.
Oh, okay, thanks. Let's see if you can see this one. Anybody see that?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
You see this one?
Yes.
This is an east facing view of what's there now. The grass that you see is where we're going to have paving, and where that ping pong table is just in front of it is the swimming pool. So you can see, it's, got these shabby doors on it and so forth, barn doors. I'll see if you can see this one. See that view?
Yes.
Okay, that's looking from the, looking north and west. Same kind of thing, but you can see the condition of the roof and the height of this building and so forth. And it is taller than a typical accessory building. Yes, I understand. That's just what's there. And what we're trying to do is clean it up and make it look a lot nicer.
Don, will you be putting air conditioning back there?
There are, I believe on the site plan, we show air conditioning units. Hold on a minute. There should be an AC unit on this site plan. I apologize if it's not there. We have a pool, it's near the pool equipment.
Okay, I'm just seeing the window unit there, and I know you're not going to leave a window.
No, it's going to be a
unit
unit up in the attic, and there'll be a compressor outside.
Okay.
Let me see, what else can I show you? This is a better view of sort of the pool and its view towards it. And this is a site plan. Now, there was a confusion. I don't know where. Way over here, there's a 4.1 foot dimension from the property line from the surveyor. That's I guess his number. I think when I put my AutoCAD scale to it, it came up to 3.5 feet, but I don't know. This is just the way the numbers work out, I guess. Sometimes you get exact numbers, sometimes you don't. Here's another view, if you can see that, of the looking toward the south and west. Let me see. I'm going to try to find the, oh, that's the other one. Nope. Okay, so I think that's all I have in terms of the view of it there.
So, Mr. Passman, will someone be living in that apartment?
I'll let the owner talk about who's living there, but yes, from what I understand, it's his family member, daughter and son-in-law, I believe.
And I see a separate electric meter or separate utilities to that building?
That's what, yes, that's what I understand.
Okay.
I don't have anything really further to add, but I'll take questions.
Any board members have questions for Mr. Passman? No. Anyone from the public have a question for Mr. Passman? All right. You have another witness, Counselor?
Sure. So I'd like to call Mr. Catton, David Catton.
Hi, everybody.
Mr. Catton, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Can you raise your right hand and I'll swear you in?
Sure.
I think you froze on us. Oh, here it goes. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, David. How are you?
Good evening.
So first, I'd like to talk about, there's some questions from the board just now as to what the current use is. Who's been, is there somebody living upstairs? What do you currently do with the apartment upstairs?
So right now, we've been using it as a family guest house. My daughter, who recently got married, has been living there in the summer with her new husband. There, because we need to fix it up. There's no heat now, so that they're not living there now as they be. And we also use it for storage.
Okay. And you've owned this house since I see it 2013.
Correct.
And in all the time that you've owned it, that structure, that garage has been there as far as, and you haven't made any changes to it, correct?
Correct.
And as far as you know, it's been there long before?
Yes.
We've submitted to the board, and I guess it's already noted in there. There's a letter back from 1985. Maybe I can pull that up. Back from 1985, that from the Township of Ocean DCA, that states that the garage apartment in the rear has not been abandoned and it may continue to be used in accordance with the regulations. And that's essentially so that we haven't given up that use, right? You've been continuously using the property the same way. You've been using it as an apartment since that time for your family, right?
Correct. Correct. As long as I've owned it.
Okay. And so now, what's your idea here? You're trying to make this apartment, this building nicer?
I mean, it's very old. The apartment is very old, run down. I'd like to use it for my family. So, and I want to, really bring it up to a more current standard, a better quality for my family. Like as one of the, I think it was one of the board members mentioned that that's because that's what we have to have now. But the idea would be putting in, like Mr. Passman said, air conditioning and heat, and just improving upon it. You're talking about the apartment only, or the downstairs as well?
I'm talking about the entire building. So
Okay. So for the downstairs, it's a very old garage, very limited in its use. We would like to, as Mr. Passman mentioned, our pool is very far from the house, and it is very difficult if somebody needs to go to the bathroom to go up to the house. It's a trek. So we'd like to turn it into a pool house with a bathroom and a shower, as was mentioned, and then additional storage, as was noted. A lot of storage is needed for whether it be pool equipment, toys, or anything like that. Also, as was mentioned, our backyard is really wide open, hardly any trees, and it gets very, very hot in the middle of the summer of July and August. We do need some shade. That's the reason why we wanted to have the hangover roof, which Mr. Passman was mentioning, and that's basically it.
Can the hangover roof be seen, do you think, from the street or from any neighbor's house?
Nothing can be seen from the street. No way.
And
look, it's about halfway from between the front and the back of the lot. As was mentioned, it's 430 plus feet. You can't see anything from the front. Definitely not from the street. And from the neighbors, there's really only one neighbor, which is even within shouting distance of where this will be. And he won't even have a visibility of it because that roof will be blocked by the pre-existing structure.
Okay. And so in your opinion, I think you would agree that the proposed use that we have, or that we're proposing, I should say, is fitted to the location, right? We're building a pool house rather than a garage, which has no driveway leading up to it. And right now we have a garage that's by a pool. That just doesn't really make sense.
Besides that, it doesn't make sense. It's an eyesore at this point. It's so old. So we're looking to improve upon it, improve just the whole visual and the function.
And so in your opinion, then it's not going to impact the surrounding neighbors, and we're going to make a better fit for the property and for the neighborhood, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mr. Patton, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you have existing water and sewer utilities going to the pool house?
Yes, this pool, I like that you called it a pool house. Thank you for that. But yes, it has a separate water, sewer, electric, and gas. So I get actually 2 bills from all of the utilities, one for the front main house and one for this pool house.
Okay, so they're separately tied in at the street then?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Technically, it's actually a separate address.
Okay.
David, I'll say one further thing, or ask you one further question. There's no, there's been a mention of wetlands in the back, and I know there's a question of whether or not they are actually wetlands, but what we're building is not coming anywhere near that wetlands, correct?
So I have 2 things to say about that. First of all, it's nowhere near the area which used to be considered wetlands. The second part is that several years ago, I got certification from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection stating that that area is indeed not wetlands. And it's my understanding that the Township of Ocean has that certification on file. So there are no wetlands in my entire property.
Okay. Are there any further questions from the board or the professionals?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Steinberg, I just have a question. I believe the attorney mentioned that there isn't an office, but there's listing
Yeah,
of an office. Does that have any bearing?
Yeah, well, I think we got to separate this into 2 situations. One, to give them a certificate of non-conforming use to the pre-existing conditions as they were in 1985, basically. Jim, tell me if I'm wrong. So what he's really looking for is that certification that he's permitted a second residence on the same lot.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, they have abandoned the business basement use. Is that correct, of the main house?
Correct.
Yeah, so what we would do is I think we'd give him a certificate, if the board so chooses, to give him a certificate of non-conforming use as to what he was approved for, with the exception of the basement office. And then give him a D3 and a C variance in one vote for the expansion of that, to change it, because it's certainly an improvement over what's there. So there'll be a 1-bedroom apartment instead of a 2-bedroom apartment, and a pool house, and a fixed up something more aesthetically pleasing. So I think we can put all that in together if the board so chooses.
Mark, let me add something further while we're discussing that. As part of the packet, we submitted an affidavit that was in the township's building file from a prior owner, sworn to and subscribed on the 14th of January, 1984.
He was a former chairman of this board.
Okay. So,
by the way, and he was the Allstate insurance guy, and he probably had his office in his basement at the time.
Right, and that's exactly what it was. So he states in his letter that he's owned the property since 1960, and to the best of his knowledge, it's been an apartment since long before that. So I think
I don't think the board should have any problem with the apartment. Apartment meaning there are 2 residences on one lot. Cool. I don't think there's any problem with that at all. I think the proofs are adequate. What you have, though, is you have abandoned the business basement office use in the main house. And there's no intention of Mr. Catan to do that again, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we would by approving this, we can give a certificate of non-conforming use as it existed, and then we would then give a D3, D3, is that what we're doing?
D2.
D2/C. I don't know where the C comes in at this point because we're expanding it.
Yeah.
Where does the C come in?
It comes in because the zoning officer determined that if you expand a non-conforming structure, even if you're not creating a new variance because it's non-conforming structure and you're expanding it, that a C variance is required.
It's a D2. Okay.
It's a
D2.
I don't know either, but I think to be covered, I think you want to do the C also.
Yeah, we'll do both. We'll do the D2 and the C. But what he would get would be, first of all, would be a certificate of non-conforming use, that there is sufficient proof that after 1960 or prior to 1960, this property existed as a pre-existing non-conforming use and does so exist through today. That would be the first situation. Second situation would, if the board so chooses, to grant him a D2 variance to expand the pre-existing non-conforming use, D2/C, and to convert the garage apartment upstairs to a one-bedroom, and to use the garage below for a pool house, and a coverage, and add a storage shed.
Yes.
All right, so is there anyone from the board with any more questions?
I just had a question in relation to the apartment pool house structure. So I know we're putting in the covered overhang to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Is there anything being done to the existing structure besides the interior work to the exterior of it to make it more aesthetically pleasing going forward? I know it's a little old. Paint job or any type of cleanup.
Right? Are you going to re-side it, re-roof it, new windows?
Don?
Well, the owner could suggest also, but it'll probably be cleaned up and painted on the outside. David, you can answer that?
Yes, it will be definitely cleaned up on the outside and on the inside as well.
What does cleaned up mean?
Yeah, how?
Are you going to put new siding on it? What kind of siding exists now?
Right now it's stucco. Tell you the truth, I'm undecided whether or not to put siding which will match the house or to keep it stucco. But whatever I was going to do would be aesthetically pleasing. If Don, what do you think?
Well, the stucco isn't bad right now. I mean, it just needs to be painted if it's in good shape. And I thought it was in pretty decent shape. The alternative is to put siding up above, the masonry down below. But either way, it's going to be, it's going to be more used. So it's going to be more painted and cleaned, meaning take the vines off the
shape of the
south
roof.
side and kind of clean up that part of it is what I mean. And then
What kind of condition is the roof in?
the roof appears to be in decent shape right now. I don't know if
I've never had a problem with any leaks from the roof ever.
Yeah.
Okay, but we need more specifics here, gentlemen. I mean, you're testifying as to what you're going to do, but you're really not telling us after a board member asked you what you're going to do.
So then our intention is to keep it as stucco and repaint it.
Are you doing any new windows?
Yes. We plan to put new windows.
What about those doors in the front?
What are you changing below?
The front doors are being changed to glass kind of folding doors. So they're mostly open during the day or, whatever, and then they can be closed for security at night or in the off season.
So it's going to wind up looking more like a two-story cabana than a barn.
Right. Those openings are enlarged and they have large expanses of glass, like about 9 feet of glass on where each garage door is now.
Okay.
Is the storage area and outdoor shower area, is that a new structure being attached or is it just covered also, like the covered patio?
Well, it's the main roof over the main patio has one roof slope and a gable shape. And then from the south, on the south side where those storage area and shower areas, the roof gets smaller and it swoops down. So it continues the same slope. You can tell from the drawings that it just continues down from that east facing elevation. So it's very consistent, and because the other thing is tall, this thing is drops lower as it comes down.
That's where you're putting the shower in the storage area?
Yes, so that gets covered so it doesn't get rained on.
So does that get like a new facade? It's a build out then with the
Well,
slab
this
and
thing is
footing?
just columns. There's no real walls on it. The walls that are surrounding the storage area are kind of a finished wall space just to keep it secure and private. And that has like a horizontal slats on it.
So it's more of a screen. It's more of a
Horizontal
screen.
siding.
So it's
Excuse
a
me?
screen. It's a screen more than anything.
Well, actually, it is a wall. It's got horizontal siding on it.
But it's an interior wall.
Exterior.
What's the finish of that going to be?
It's a wood horizontal siding or a wood-like horizontal siding.
Okay.
It shows it on my elevation.
Okay, I see
And
it.
you want to pull that up for the board?
I see it. Yeah.
Don, are you able to pull that up so that we could,
Let me see.
And what are we doing with the discrepancy of the side yard? Jim?
Side yard,
Well, it shows the survey shows 4.1 or 3.5. There's a discrepancy there.
I said that I don't know where that came from, meaning
Well, you're the one that's different than the survey.
I know, but what happens is when you get this in a computer format, you can take your mouse and click on the corner and click on the property line, and it gives you a dimension. Now, it could be that the measurement that I got from the surveyor from his drawing kind of goes to like a siding element versus a foundation element, which might account for the differential. Or I may have accidentally hit the fence line that's there and it created that dimension. But it's either 3.5 or 4.1. If you went by the surveyor, it's 4.1. So I'd probably stand by that dimension.
Do we need amended plans, Jim?
It's not a big deal. It's probably be cleaner to have an amended plan.
All right, can we amend the plan to 4.1?
I can.
So to match, gonna amend the plan to match
The survey.
Yes.
match the survey.
I can do
Okay.
that. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are at 35 minutes here and we have more to do, so
All right. Do we have does everybody understand what the exterior is going to look like, I guess?
I understand it, but I thought he was gonna put some pictures up.
I thought I think I sent the drawings to Amy if she could put them up.
mm,
Is that possible?
Don, I've got A4. I could put that up.
Okay.
Amy, am I able to share the screen? No, not yet. Amy, am I able to share the screen?
Yes, you should be able to.
Okay. See if I could pull that up. Okay. So Don, you've got up A4.
Okay. Yeah, we see it. Okay.
So this shows that the horizontal slats on that south elevation, it's a horizontal wood slat, that the existing building is stucco, and that the upper portion in the pediment is a horizontal siding, and that probably will be replaced with new siding. As far as the roof, since our new roof is going to be this covered patio, would be an asphalt shingle, of a gray color, that we would probably do the remaining front portion of the roof to match, because it's being covered up so much anyway. So I would say that whole portion is going to be redone. And if the back portion facing west is in poor shape, we'll replace that. If not, we'll leave that and we'll match everything to that. There's no real magic in it. This is very muted colors that's there now. No one's
So
trying to do anything crazy.
Okay, so you're gonna stucco and possibly side where needed, and the new addition roof will match the existing roof, or vice versa.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I got that.
And Mr. Catton, you're in agreement with that?
Yes, I am.
You're not gonna have one roof one color and one roof another.
Certainly.
You can match it to the existing.
I think if anybody on the board has driven past the home, it's somewhat set back and hard to see, but if you look at it, it's really a beautiful home. It's kept very well, I would say. David, you've always kept your house very well. You don't have any problems with your neighbors. Is that right?
No problems.
I think from what I hear, you're a good neighbor, and you're an asset to the community.
I try.
Any further questions about the elevations or anything else?
Okay, I guess that does it.
All right, if I could just summarize real quickly, I think we've established that this has been a continued use. We should be granted the continued use variance. We haven't changed it. We haven't abandoned the use. We intend on making the structure more functional. It'll better fit with the property, and there's not going to be any impact on the surrounding neighborhoods or the surrounding community. In fact, we think it'll actually make it better, and we would request that the board approve.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. So, Mr. Steinberg, we're looking.
Well, I don't know if anybody in the public has any comments.
Does anybody from the public have a comment for this applicant? No comments.
All right, then why don't we move to close the public hearing?
I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Move that we close public hearing.
Thank you. Second? I'll second. Thank you. Amy, roll call.
Okay, Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. Di Gennaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
All right.
All right. So, Mr. Steinberg, can you sum up what?
Yeah, but again, it's two separate issues. The first thing that the applicant is seeking is a certification of pre-existing non-conforming use, which is a special section in the land use ordinance. And he's presented the proofs to that to you, that the prior owner had a basement office as well as a garage apartment, two uses on one lot, and the board would have to vote to grant a pre-existing non-conforming use. It's at 68 in the Municipal Land Use Act 55-68, isn't it?
55D-68.
Yeah, that would be the first thing, that it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, and we can so certify it prior to the change in the zoning ordinance, which occurred sometime in the early 60s, I believe, right? Jim, we go back that far?
Yes.
In the early 60s. And that is continued to be a pre-existing non-conforming use, and all but the office has stayed there. The office was abandoned. So somebody has to move for that.
All right, I will offer that, what you just said, and I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, call the roll, please.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
All
All
right.
right, and the next thing, now that we have a pre-existing non-conforming use, he's now changing that pre-existing non-conforming use. So he needs a D2/C variance. I'm not sure that he needs both, but we'll put them together. To actually change the pre-existing non-conforming use and still maintain the two-family situation. And what he's going to do is, by the way, he's improving the aesthetics of the property as part of the proofs. He is not abandoned the two-family use. He's used it all this time. He's going to fix up the building with a new. Well, first of all, he's going to reduce the intensity of the nonconformity by only having a one-bedroom apartment. He's changing the bottom to a pool house. And then, of course, we're going to put some conditions as to how he has agreed to finish the facade and improve the site.
Okay, I need someone to offer.
I'll move.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay, that has it. Good luck.
We have, these were very complicated for our first-time board members.
Yes.
These are very complicated for the first-time board members. These are not the ordinary that we go through, okay?
These are complicated for the professionals that have been doing it for 40 years.
Yes, the next three are
Thank you,
easy.
everybody. Thank you.
The next three are substantially easier.
Good night.
Yes.
Okay, the next case show on my list is Isaac and Margot Shalom. Is that
Mhm.
correct? All right.
Correct.
It's block 61.05, lot 12, 515 Wildwood Road, Ocean, and R5 zone. This is an applicant to construct a converted front porch within the front yard setback. And we have our attorney with us tonight, Mr. Faber.
Hi, Rob Farber again. I'm back and good evening. Happily, this is going to be quick, substantially under 45 minutes, probably closer to less than 20 minutes. And Mr. Higgins, Mr. Higgins gave a very scholarly introduction about this stuff. This is a straight, simple C bulk variance. That's not going to be terribly difficult, I promise. Rob Farber here, pleasure to represent Isaac and Margot Shalom, 515 Wildwood Road, block 61.05, lot 12, located in R5 high density zone. We propose a covered front porch. We have a bulk variance requirement. 30-foot setback is required. This cuts that up to 27.1 foot. Also, there's a 6-foot wide walkway in the front that is being proposed. The way your ordinance is written, if it's 3 feet or longer, it's deemed a pad and setback requirements are required. So that comes into play in this. Tonight, I will offer the testimony of our expert, architect Robert Hazelrig, as well as Margot Shalom. But before I do, you will hear testimony from your two experts, Mr. Bennett Matlock and Mr. Jim Higgins. From the get-go, I will summarize to make this go as quickly. Mr. Higgins has some concerns, but he has no major concern regarding the application. Simply put, with regard to the front path that I described at 6 foot, he recommends that to lessen its bulkiness, that'd be a paver design. My client will testify she's very happy to do that. As far as Mr. Matlock's concerned, his concern primarily was to do with drainage. He issued a report of October 7, 21, and items 1, 2 pertain to topographic concerns and water. I can represent, and Mr. Matlock will testify, I presume. He spoke to the very excellent, awesome Chet Sermont, surveyor engineer and topographic expert, and they've discussed their concerns about water. Chet Sermont has made a recommendation, which I believe Mr. Matlock is good about, which assuages two concerns about the first two issues. As a house cleaning matter, finally, there was some concern by the code official that, hey, there's a patio in the back and there's no permit for it. The patio doesn't affect coverage. We're fine in terms of coverage. But just so the board is aware, Ms. Shalom will testify that that patio was there when they bought the house. They had nothing to do with putting the patio in. So any malfeasance by anyone of putting a patio in without approval should not inure to them. They are not the ones who did it. It was there before. Having said that, my first witness will be to swear in Mr. Hazelrig, but I think first you'll want to hear from either Mr. Matlock or Mr. Higgins. Mr. Chairman, I would ask you to proceed as you deem appropriate.
Thank you, Counselor. Amy, could you please mark the packet B1? And yes, Mr. Higgins, can you please give us
Yeah,
your
I will
report?
be very quickly summarize. These are C variances, they're bulk variances. The ordinance requires a 30-foot front yard setback. The building is set back 35 feet. In order to put the front porch on and have it be a usable 8-foot wide, it requires a variance for 3 feet and extending 3 feet into the front yard, a 27-foot front yard setback. It's an open porch. The intent of the ordinance is really for light air and open space. So I don't see a real problem with an open porch extending 3 feet into the front setback. It makes the house more livable, and especially in these times, people want to use their houses much more than they've been doing in the past. As far as the width of the sidewalk, again, that's an aesthetic issue, and I think if it's going to be stone pavers that will match the front porch, I have no problem at all with that.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Mr. Matlock, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Farber indicated, I did speak with the applicant's surveyor, Mr. Charles Sermont, and we discussed his plan for handling roof leaders and drainage. There's existing underground roof leader collection system already on site for the main portion of the house, and the roof will be pitched in two directions, one going towards the driveway and one going towards the other direction. And that side can be collected into the collection system. Driveway can just be discharged down the driveway into the street. I have no issues with that. That's the Mr. Sermont would submit a compliance plan if the board decided to approve.
And I might add that that will be a condition that we find acceptable should the board be inclined to grant the application.
Okay, thank you. Counsel, you can call your first witness.
I will call Robert Hazelrig, a licensed architect of the state of New Jersey, who has appeared before this board numerous times. And I would ask that when you swear him in, he be deemed accepted as an architect and an expert.
Yes, we will accept Mr. Hazelrig has been before us many times. Welcome, Mr. Hazelrig.
Thank you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
Can you describe what we want to do? I think it's pretty straightforward, but just really briefly, I don't even know if we have to show it. Everybody has the plan and has seen it, correct?
Yes, and they should also have a color rendering that was done and was submitted with the packet. Really, it's just we're extending. First of all, there's one step at the door now. It's very small, and then from the porch there'll be one step down to the sidewalk. So it's very close to ground. It's an unusual house. It's a split level, but it's split front to back. So there's a dormer on the west side of the house that sticks out and is cantilevered a few feet over. All we're going to do is put a shed roof over the whole roof and create an 8-foot wide porch, which is deep enough that they could put a table out there and eat outside, or have a couch and 2 chairs perpendicular to it. The 6-foot walkway coming down the front was to fill the space between the two columns that center on the front door. And it just, to me, looked more appropriate. And especially if we do all of it in some sort of paver, I think it's going to be very attractive and open. Not sure what else to add to that.
The only bold variance here is the front yard setback. And that would be, it's not 30 feet, it's 27.1. Is that correct?
Correct. Which is pretty de minimis in this case, yes.
And it's all open, as Mr. Higgins pointed out, so it's not going to affect light and air. Is that correct also?
That's correct.
And there's no coverage concern in terms of impervious, et cetera?
No, we're well under impervious and building coverages.
I have no further questions. Mr. Chairman, I ask the board or the public if they have any questions of Mr. Hazelwood.
Thank you, Counselor. Does the board members have any questions for Mr. Hazelwood? Anyone from the public have questions for this witness? Okay, Counselor, what's next?
Margot, unmute yourself, and I would ask Margot Shalom, who is the wife of the applicant, to come forth. And Mr. Chairman, I'd ask if you would swear or affirm her for me.
Welcome, Margot Shalom, to the board. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, Margot. Really quickly, you grew up in Brooklyn and elsewhere where everybody had a front porch and was open, and you like that kind of lifestyle, and you want it on your beloved little house in Ocean Township, right?
Yes.
And there was some concern that the front walkway be stone or paver, and we chatted a little bit. We texted before. You don't want concrete. You want it to be paver. You want it to look nice, like Mr. Higgins said, right?
Yes.
And you're amenable to that, correct?
Yes.
And if there's any requirements that Mr. Sermon tells the board that should be done when he does a more thorough investigation regarding water drainage, you will comply with whatever Mr. Sermon, who is also a licensed engineer, tells you to do, correct?
Yes.
Okay. As a final cleanup note, when you and your husband, Isaac, purchased the house, that paver rear deck was there and it had been there, correct?
Yes, was there since the day I moved in.
The only thing you did was put up a fence, and you were a good citizen. You got a permit for that, didn't you?
I sure did.
A gazint on your cupola. Very good. I have nothing further from this witness. Mr. Chairman, for the board, if you have any questions, or the public.
Thank you, Counselor. Any board members with a question? No questions? Anyone from the public? No questions from the public? Okay, can you give us a summation of what we're looking for, Mr. Steinberg?
Just the two variances for the front yard setback for the porch, which is an open porch and it's a little more than 3 feet deficient, and for the paver walkway now, which is almost level to the ground, but that requires also a setback variance.
All right, I need someone to offer, please.
We're keeping that. Yeah, are we keeping that at 6 feet, Rob?
Yes, the
Okay.
path will be 6 feet. Obviously, if for whatever aesthetic reason they decide to make it a little smaller, they may.
No, but they're still asking for a 6 foot additional variance from the 27. So it's 20. It's 21.1, right?
No,
For the-
no. The walk runs straight out from the house to the front sidewalk. So it's a 6 foot wide running straight from the sidewalk up to the porch. So the porch will still be a 27, but technically the walk is at 0 foot setback because it's 6 feet wide.
It's 0. Okay, it's perpendicular to the porch.
It's perpendicular. To the porch.
Okay. I don't have plans in my
Yeah, I
packet.
know. Okay,
So,
no problem.
okay, it's perpendicular to the porch, but it requires a setback because it's wider than 3 feet. Okay,
That's correct.
gotcha. Got it. That's what two front yard setback variances, one for the porch at 27.1 and one for the walkway from the street or the sidewalk to the porch since it's wider than 3 feet, it requires a variance. But it's at grade level and it's going to be pavers.
Yes.
Now, the roof is going to match the existing? Rob?
Yes.
Correct, yes.
All right. And
No,
the porch, and the
All the
porch
roof
supports and
details
everything
will
will all,
match all the roof details will match the house details.
got it. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. So, anybody have any other questions? You can move to close the public hearing. Did we offer this to the public?
Yes.
Jim?
I did. There was no questions. So I need someone to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move.
Second. Someone
I'll
like-
second.
Thank you very much. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes. Okay, I need someone to offer a positive motion for this applicant.
And I'm going to have the conditions that everything matches and that the applicant's engineer surveyor file a compliance plan as to drainage. And
I'll
the front
move for-
walkway be pavers.
I'll move for a positive resolution subject to the conditions.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Worrell.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Greatly obliged on my behalf and my clients. And I kept my word. I think we did that in under 15 minutes. How about that?
Very good. Thank you and good luck to you.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everybody. And the next meeting's on December 16, did you say?
Correct.
16, yes.
Okay, I'll have to talk to you about that. Thank you. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Okay. Does the board, it's 10:06, do they need to take a 5-minute break or do you want to press forward? No
What do we
taker?
have left? I'm sorry. I have, I think, mixed up agenda when I'm following with.
My agenda, so I'm showing the next case being Anthony Russo. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more cases.
No, there's only 2.
There's 2 more.
The last 2 on the last page are rescheduled. So it's only numbers 6 and 7. It would be Russo and Ross.
Okay, I think I'm ready to go forward.
Good, let's go forward then. All right, next case, Anthony Russo. We have block 138, lot 52.01, 900 Roselle Avenue, Ocean in an R4 zone. This is an application to construct a second floor dormer with structural alterations to the front of the dwelling, along with new covered front porch and landing the side covered deck on a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling and property. All right, we have Mr. Russo here with us tonight. Mr. Russo?
I think Mrs. Russo, I think is
muted.
Is muted, yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Russo?
Hello?
Good evening, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Amy, could you please mark the packet B1? And I just need to swear you in. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Tony Marie Russo, 900 Roselle Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey, 07712.
Thank you. And if you raise your right hand, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So tell us why you're here tonight.
Well, I just moved to New Jersey about 3 years ago. I moved to Asbury. My husband opened up a business in Asbury, Michi Gelato. And when I met him, he was single, divorced twice, so was I. I moved to Jersey, we got married, and we wanted to buy a house in Ocean. A friend of mine lives 2 blocks away. She's the real estate agent. She found us this house, and coming from New York, I love it because we have the best of both worlds. We have 35 with all the stores, everything that's close by. And then when we drive down Roselle, then we just feel like we're in Pennsylvania. And it's a great little pocket. So I have 3 grandchildren. We bought an old house and we need to expand. It's all small rooms. It's, small rooms. And this day and age, we like everything wide open. We have a front porch that is actually not structurally sound. So we want to incorporate with that into the main house. It was here before. So I think right now it's an indoor porch, but I believe it was an outdoor porch at one time.
Okay.
And it's falling down. So we decided to incorporate that to make the living space bigger.
All right. Thank you for the introduction. I'm going to ask our professionals, Mr. Higgins, to go forward with his report first.
Yeah, and I'm going to be very brief. This is a very much undersized lot. It's a corner lot. It has a lot of problems in terms of trying to develop it properly. They simply want to make the house a little bit bigger, make it more livable. And what the applicant did not say is that the front porch, when you walk out the front porch right now, you walk onto the Roselle Avenue right of way. And what they want to do is reconfigure it so when you walk out of the front porch, you walk to the side of the lot, not to the front of the lot. It's a much safer situation. There is a building coverage variance, but it's a minimal variance, particularly since the lot is about 60 to 70% of the area that's permitted, that's required by the ordinance. So it's grossly undersized. It's very narrow. And I think what they're doing actually is a substantial improvement to the property.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Next, our engineer, Mr. Matlock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I performed a site visit to this property just to check it out. It looks like everything drains towards the 2 roads, Brookside Avenue and Roselle. So I don't think there are any issues with drainage with the construction. I will mention that, and Jim, maybe you can verify this. On the side of the house, the proposed covered deck addition, they are showing a 10-foot offset, which complies with the ordinance. However, the angle of the deck shows these new stairs coming down, and that looks like it violates the 10-foot side yard setback, maybe about 9.5 feet. I'm not sure if the stairs count the same as the deck, but if a variance is required there, I think we want to make sure we cover that.
Yeah, and I don't think the zoning officer pointed that out. So I think she felt the variance wasn't necessary.
Okay.
In these applications, I generally take the variances based on what the zoning officer said. But at the same time, if maybe she missed it, so it might be a good idea to just mention that and say that if a side yard setback is necessary, it should be granted.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Matlock. Do the board members have any questions for Ms. Russo? No questions from the board members. Does anyone from the public have a question for Ms. Russo? All right, no questions. Mr. Steinberg, can you give us a summation of what we're looking for?
She's just, okay, the applicant basically needs, since he's expanding a pre-existing lot, which is undersized, the permission to expand the building on the lot, number 1. So that would be the minimum lot area, which is existing. She's incorporating the porch into the house as living space, which is fine. It requires 30 feet and now has 0.72 to the steps. She's improving that by 3.02 to the steps because they're going out sideways. The front yard setback from Brookside is existing 15.7. The reconfiguration is going to be 15.8. Certainly not much of a change noticeable to the eye. And lot coverage has increased from 26.41 to 30.99%, but it's substantially less than that because it's based upon a 6,700 square foot lot, not a 10,000 square foot lot. So the percentages go up because the lot is smaller. And then she's looking for a variance if necessary for the rear patio for the steps, which may be in the side yard. So it's, and the two conditions basically that will go with this, that all the construction, et cetera, will be incorporated into one look. Everything will be the same color, the same finish, the same roof. And secondly, that she does have existing non-conforming shed, which is less than 5 feet from each property line. And that in the event that that shed should be taken down or come down for some reason, if it is to be reconstructed, it has to be relocated to appropriate setbacks. You can keep it now. If somebody huffs and puffs and blows it down, you got to move it. All right.
Okay. We didn't go over the dormers.
I don't think you need variances for the dormers. Right, correct, Jim? You don't need variances for the dormers. It's just going up.
Yeah, they're fine.
It doesn't add anything to the front, to the setbacks, and it doesn't add anything to the lot coverage.
Okay, with that being said, I will offer what Mr. Steinberg just said. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Mr. Worrell. Yes. Good luck to you, Ms. Ross. Congratulations and.
Ms. Russo.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Next case is next. Listen,
Close. Thank you so much.
Please contact Amy with any questions that, you may have with this.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. All right, the last case, number 8, I have on my agenda, Judith Ross, you're with us?
It's actually number 7.
Number 7. Hi, can you unmute yourself? You need to unmute yourself.
Hold on.
There you
I'm
go.
new at this. Okay,
All right,
I think
all
I
right.
did it.
Good evening and welcome to the board.
Hello.
All right, we have block 20.01, lot 5, 120 Hull Avenue, Oakhurst in R4 zone. This applicant is proposing to extend a front porch, which is already within the front yard setback. This extension would further violate the front yard setback. All right, welcome to the board and tell us in a few words why you're here tonight.
Well, my father built this house in 1959, and I was brought into it after I was born. And he built it, and he built the steps exactly as they are or were at 21-foot setback. And I believe the house is also at 25 foot, so it would be hard to be at 30 feet. But anyway, the steps crumbled, and I replaced them at the same 21-foot setback, which is what the person that did the steps for me said. He went to the township and they said, as long as you make it at the same 21 foot and nothing more than the 21-foot setback, then it would be fine. So that's what we did, because the steps were crumbling and we couldn't get into the house without endangering our safety. So I guess
Made it a little bigger than, you made it a little bigger than the
It was
previous.
a very, very slight increase in the size.
Right.
it was
And
made
that's why you're here.
wider. It's wider across the front of the house because it was so small. We used to knock each other off when we were trying to get
we
into
understand.
the house. But it's 21 foot as it was originally built.
All right, thank you, Amy.
And
Could
in
you
fact, I
please-
have a letter from James Higgins. Excuse me?
Go ahead.
He's here.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have a letter from James Higgins Associates, and it says that the ordinance indeed does require front yard setback at 30 feet, but the house is set back at 25 feet. So I would find it hard to, he even states, he says, there's no possible way to construct a conforming porch. The prior porch was very small, and the existing porch is much safer and aesthetically pleasing. I believe you have that letter as well.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him to do his report next. Amy, please mark this packet B1. And Mr. Higgins, can you give us your report?
I think she summed it up very, very nicely. And Ms. Ross, thank you for sitting here since 7:30.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Jim,
It's
thank
been
you.
very interesting, let me tell you.
Thank you, Jen. And Mr. Matlock, can you give us your report?
Yeah, there's very little impact here. I have no engineering concerns.
Okay. Does anyone from the board have a question for this applicant? No questions. Anyone from the public? All right. I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All right. Second? Amy, please call the roll. I second.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Ms. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Morrell.
Yes. All right, Mr. Steinberg, sum us up here.
Granting a variance, and I'm confident you will, for a front yard setback of 21 feet for the porch and stairs.
Thank you. I also move what you just said. I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Amy, please call the roll.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Mrs. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes.
Chairman Morrell.
Yes. Good luck to you, Ms. Ross, and contact Amy with any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for being patient all evening to this
Thank
hour.
you. It was
10:21.
quite an educational experience.
All right.
Very educational.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
And you got the record
Thanks.
tonight for the shortest hearing.
I need a motion to adjourn and a final roll call.
So moved.
I'll second. Amy, please call the
Into
roll.
that one.
That's easy.
Mr. Van Wagner,
Yes.
Ms. Beal,
Yes.
Mrs. Tallarico,
Yes, and I just wanted to thank everybody for their detailed explanations for us newbies tonight. So yes, and thank you.
Mr. DeGenaro,
Yes.
Mr. Puglielli,
Yes.
Mr. Mamie,
Yes. I'm used to being after Shawanda. I don't know what happened.
or no, I know you got shifted. Chairman Morrell,
Yes.